Welcome to the sixth session of Android development with Kotlin. Today we'll be discussing what are shared preferences. Okay. So in previous session, we had developed an application with the help of RecyclerView for displaying a list. Okay, it was displaying a static list. So today we'll be creating or making changes in that same application so that it should be able to add some list item into that list dynamically using a fab button, that is nothing but floating action button. Okay? So what are shared preferences? Okay, what are shared preferences? So basically shared preferences are used to save small collection of key value pairs. Okay? Those key value pairs will be stored inside a single file. Okay? A single file will be utilized to store these key value pairs. If you want to save a small amount of data in your application quickly, so shared preferences is one of the first solution you should consider. But if you want to save some complex data, so there are some better solution compared to shared preferences. But if your application is using some small amount of data which is required during the processing or during the use of that application, so you can consider shared preferences for storing such data. So shared, as I said, that shared preferences writes key value pairs into a single file. That file can be shared among different applications, okay, if required. So you can also allow other apps to access your application shared preferences store if you think other applications have a valid reason to access your data. So whatever data that is maintained by using shared preferences by your app, the data can be shared among the different applications in your mobile device. Right? So just we'll quickly go through a demo how to use these shared preferences. Right? So again, one demo has been created. So I will just go through that video to explain how the shared preferences can be used. Okay? But for a minute, it is loading. Okay. So we're trying to open Android Studio with administrative privileges. In Android Studio, when it is loading, it loads modules, components, reopen files, and we are loading the earlier session project, which we have created with the name list creator. Right? So after loading that project, here you can go to the in the previous project that we have created, we added one RecyclerView comprising a fab button that is floating action button. Okay. So we'll just try to change. So inside this, what basically by default we have created one basic activity. Okay. While selecting that project, we have created one basic activity, selected basic activity during the creation of project. So by default, it has included fragments into it, but those fragments I don't require into my application. So this first fragment and second fragment you can delete because it is not of any use currently in my application, as well as their XML file, corresponding XML file that is fragment first and fragment second can be deleted. Okay. So you can simply select those file and delete it from the left pane. Right? So it will ask you whether you want to safely delete these files. So it will show you the dependency of those files where these files are utilized. So basically, while it has one users in layout.fragment second, right, as well as so there, but still, if you don't require it, so you can delete it anyway. Similarly, that fragment first .xml can be deleted, right, as well as the first fragment and second fragment Kotlin files deleting here, right? So if you are using the Android Studio, the latest version of Android Studio, and if you are selecting the basic activity, automatically these two fragments have been added with your application, but it is not of any use. So therefore, I am deleting those Kotlin file as well as corresponding XML files. Right? So after that, I will just make changes to the design view of my application. So I'm moving to activity main.xml. I opened it in design view, and I want to change the label of this fab button. Okay, so currently the label or the icon, okay, icon displayed on the fab button is of email, right? So I want to change it to add button icon. Okay, so I will just select that fab button, and in its attributes window, you can see in src compact. Okay, uh, by using this src compact uh, option from the attributes window, you can see that this fab button is using the email icon currently. Okay, dialog email icon. I can change it to some other icon so that it will be most convenient to look it at for adding the list items in the list. Okay, so for add button, there are multiple options. Just for example, input add. So once I will select that input add icon, so you can observe here this icon changes to plus sign. Okay, there is one more option, that is menu add, icon menu add. So I can change it to menu add option. Okay. So it is somewhat better in look. So therefore that menu add has been selected here. So plus sign with circle, okay, will be indicated here. So after making these changes, I am making certain changes in strings.xml. Again, here you can observe that there are some of the unused strings, so you can again delete the string, that is first fragment, label, next, previous, as well as first fragment. All these can be deleted. Okay. So currently here I am adding two more strings. So for better understanding, I will add these strings to the end of this resource file. Okay. So here these two strings has been added, that is nothing but name of list, as well as in the use of string.xml file, which is used to maintain the strings globally. So if you want to add multiple languages support into your applications, so it is better to maintain the strings inside this strings.xml. Okay, so two strings has been added here. So what I will be doing here, so when user will click on that fab button, okay, to add the uh, list into the recycler view. So currently I am trying to dynamically create the list. Okay. In previous session, I created that list statically by passing the string array so that the elements of that string array can be displayed into the recycler view as a list. Right? But here I want to create that list dynamically. Okay, so user should be able to add the items into the list. Okay, in that recycler view. So obviously that RecyclerView will contact the adapter will contact your ViewHolder to fetch that list items, and ViewHolder will return those items to the adapter, and adapter finally returns it to the RecyclerView. Okay, for displaying it into the recycler. So once a user will click on that fat button, one alert dialog box will be open, and the label given to that alert dialog box is what is the name of your list. Okay, below that label, one input text field will be there. Inside that input text field, user can enter the name of list. Okay, and below that, there will be a create button. Okay, so that create list label button label will be create. Okay, string. Okay, so I'm using these two strings to give labels to the uh, uh, different items in the alert dialog box. Okay, so first will be the alert dialog box title. So that will be nothing but the what is the name of your list. Below that there will be input text field where you user can enter the name of list item that they want to add into the recycler view, and below that there will be a create button. Right. So these two strings will be used to assign the labels to the title as well as button. Okay, so these strings can be accessed by using name of list and create list. Okay, that will be utilized in next file. So in main activity, I will be adding this function. So the name of the function is this show create list dialog. Okay, so see, just I have added two strings into the strings.xml. So I am accessing those strings here. So using getString function, this show create list dialog is again user-defined function. So we are defining it right inside that main activity class, right? So at the bottom, we are defining this function. In this function, so these two strings which I have just defined with name of list and second create list. So name of list is what is the name of your list. So and create list string is create. Right. So these two strings are fetched, and those strings are assigned to dialog title and previous button title. Right. Sorry, positive button title. So these two, after fetching those two strings are assigned to dialog title and positive button title. After that, I'm building the alert dialog box here. So by calling the builder constructor from alert dialog, this alert dialog box is created. Right. So after that, I'm also uh, uh, adding one edit text box, okay, in the alert dialog box. For doing that, I'll be initially creating that edit text box, okay, and the input type of this list title edit text box will be a type class text, okay. So basically it is of because I want to just enter the text into that input edit text box. So therefore, the type which has been assigned to that list title edit text box is uh, type underscore class underscore text. So once you type input type dot, so it will display the list of what other types you can assign to that uh, list edit text box. Right? So one by one, I will be adding these created or available uh, what dialog title, positive button title, and list title edit text box into the alert dialog box. Okay, so here this can be done by using builder dot set title. So what it will do? So it will give that dialog title to the alert dialog. Okay. After that, it will add the list title edit text box. Okay, so below the dialog title there will be that title edit text box. Okay, so once you click on that edit text, okay, your factory pad will be open, so you can type anything that will be displayed into that edit text box, right? And after entering that text, you can click on that create positive button. So therefore, after that input text box, the edit text box, that positive button will be added. Okay, with label which has been fetched from the your strings.xml. The label given to that positive button is nothing but the create. So here positive button title create is passed to that set positive button. So these three items will be displayed on that alert dialog. Okay, first is the title, second is the input text box, and third is the create button. Okay, and currently on that button, when that create button is clicked, so nothing has been done. It is simply dismissing that alert dialog box. Okay, so once a user click on the create button, uh, the alert dialog box will be disappearing from the screen, and after that it is creating that builder, and your it will be showing that alert dialog box. Okay, so it will be showing that alert dialog box here, right? So currently we are not adding the items inserted in the edit text box inside the recycler view. Okay, so this function should get called somewhere so that your uh, dialog box should get displayed. Okay, again here you can observe that this alert dialog, edit text, input type are displayed in red. So we'll try to add the references to alert dialog class. Okay, so you can import it right from AlertX.upcounter.app. From that alert dialog class has been referred. Similarly, you can import the reference for edit text. So it is from Android.widget. Edit text class is there. Similarly, you can import the reference for input type. Again, it is from Android.text. Okay. So after adding these references, you can call this function that you have created inside the fab set on click listener. Okay, so when user click on the fab button, this alert dialog box will be open. Okay, so inside that uh, fab dot set on click listener, we are calling that show create list dialog function. So which will be responsible to display the alert dialog box to the user. Right. So the remaining things you can comment out. Okay. So just try to run this after making the changes. So after running it, you can observe that inside your recycler view, whatever the strings that you have displayed earlier, those strings are as it is. But initially when you was clicking that fab button, nothing was happening, right? But now when you click on that fab button, so one alert dialog will get open with that alert dialog title. Below that input type text box, edit text box is there. So you can type anything after clicking on that input type text box. You are notepad will be open. From that you can type any string into that input text box, and you can click on create. And when you click on create, you can observe that nothing is happening. Simply your alert dialog is disappearing from the screen, but whatever string that you have entered into the edit text box, that is not getting displayed into your recycler view. Okay, so for displaying that string into recycler view, we'll be making changes in your application. Right? So what are those changes? So here we'll be creating two more classes. Okay, so again you can right click on the form of polymer ms dot list creator, and you have selected create new Kotlin class file. Here we are giving name of that class file as task list, so that task list will maintain the task, okay, inside the list atom, okay, newly created list atom. Again, it will be a class file, so you can create this class file automatically. This task list class will be open, and that will be created inside form.polynode.ms.list creator package. It named task list. Okay, so here you can see that this task list class belongs to the package form.polynode.ms.list creator. Okay, uh, so inside this task list, I will be using a key value pair. Okay, just I said that shared preferences are using key value pair. So the name of that list at a list is there. Okay, so that will be this is nothing but the key. Okay, of shared preferences. So the name of list will be there, and inside that list there will be multiple tasks. Okay, as there are multiple tasks inside that list, so key and value. Okay, so key is nothing but your name of that list, and values, there will be multiple values inside that key. So those are nothing but the task. Okay. So therefore, these values or tasks maintained inside the list will be of array list type, right? So there will be multiple tasks inside a single list item. Okay, so therefore, array list has been taken. Okay, so basically here name is of type string, right, and task is of type array list. Okay, so this is nothing but the constructors of task list class. Okay, so this is the parameterized constructor where two parameter has been passed to maintain the shared preferences. Okay, so after doing this, one more class will be created. Again, going to new Kotlin file class file. Okay, and the name of that class is the list data manager. So list data manager will manage the data atoms inside the list. Again, it will be a class. So again, automatically list data manager class will be created inside the package form.polynode.ms.list creator. Okay. So again, the list data manager constructor I will be specifying here. So here again, it is a parameterized constructor, right? And to that constructor, the current context has been passed, right? Again, the reference of that context class can be added or imported, right? So from Android.content package, this context class is there, right? So inside that list data manager class, one function has been defined of save list. Okay, so this list will be saved, right? Uh, the save list function is used to save the list, right? So for that purpose, the task list has been passed to it, right? And you can observe here this task list class we have just created. Okay, so task list class is maintaining basically is having a key value pair So it is maintaining the name of list and the items or the number of items inside that list. Okay, so two parameters are there to the task list constructor. So here inside this save list function, right, the reference of that task list has been created, and we are creating one shared preference object. Okay, by using preference manager. We are calling get default shared preferences. So by using the current context, we are editing those shared preferences. Okay. So whatever the key value pair will be maintained inside a single file, okay, which will be referred by using shared preferences reference. So inside that single file, we are adding these strings. Okay, so strings, which strings we are adding? So what is the name of list, and what are the different tasks? Okay, which are maintained inside the list, which is referred by this name. Okay, so again, those tasks will be maintained as an array, but while adding it into the single file, which is referred by the shared preferences, we are converting that task list into hash set. Okay, because as in case of task list constructor, the second parameter that we have passed is of type array list. That array list will be converted into hash set, and after that, after adding those strings, that is the name of list and the task inside those lists into the shared preferences file, will be applying those changes to the shared preferences. Okay, as well as those will should get reflected into your application, right? Again, we will be adding the references of that context class as well as preference manager class by importing their corresponding references. So that context class will be imported from Android.content package, and preference manager will be imported from Android.preference. Okay. So here you can see that it is indicated that stripe through line because it is a deprecated class. Okay, support of this class has been removed from the newer version of the Android development page. Okay, but still you can use it. Okay, so after saving that list, it is time to fetch that list from the shared preferences. Okay, so for that purpose, we are using this again one more user-defined function that is nothing but read list. Okay, so that read list function will return the array list, task list maintained inside the shared preferences. Okay, so for accessing data from the shared preferences, so again uh, we need to create the reference of shared preferences again by using preference manager dot get default shared preferences by passing the current context reference to it, and after that whatever shared preferences contents are there, okay, that can be fetched from the just created instance of shared preferences dot all. So everything will be written inside the shared preferences context. Okay? And again, we are creating the task list object of array list. Right? So it will be now holding the current list means maintained inside the shared preferences. So so this task list will be passed to the for loop. So every atom inside the shared preferences contents, okay, which is holding the shared preferences strings as well as value pairs, which has been now referred by the shared preference contents. Okay, so depending on how many atoms are there inside the shared preferences context, this for loop will be iterated for every atom. So the first atom will be fetched from it, right? So that is nothing but item hash set is used for here. Again, we are converting it to the array list type. Okay, because initially it was converted to hash set because the data inside the shared preferences will be maintained as a hash set instead of array list. Right. So again, we are typecasting here or converting back into the array list because our task list constructor was using second parameter as array list type, right? So again, from that task list dot value, we are fetching that value as a hash set. Okay, so it will return that value which is maintained inside the list, right? And after that, key value pair will be written uh, uh, in the list. Okay, so this task list constructor we are using here. First parameter passed to the task list constructor is key, right? So it is the name of that list, and whatever the items maintained inside values which are maintained inside that uh, task list will be written. Okay, so that key value pair will be written inside the list, and then the task list will be added uh, into the current basically whatever list that you have fetched, that will be added into the task list, right? And the task list will be written by this function, right? So this read list function will be calling where you want to fetch the contents from the shared preferences as a key value pair, and those contents will be displayed in the recycler view, right? So these two functions are used to save list into the shared preferences and to retrieve the shared preferences and uh, return it as a task list to the. So this save list and read list functions are defined there, right, inside list data manager. Okay. So trying to call those functions. So for the purpose, we will be again creating the instance of list data manager class. Okay. So currently that instance is unused, so we'll be using it. So where we will be calling it? So obviously, when user will click on that create button of alert dialog, so automatically whatever value that has been entered or text that has been entered into the edit text box by the user, and when the user click on the create button, so automatically that text should be added into your uh, what shared preference, right? So and it should get reflected back on your recycler view, right? So for that purpose, on create uh, set positive button action, right? So once user will click on create button, so this save list function should get called, right? So here I will be making those changes, right? So here what is happening again, one instance has been created of task list class, okay, by passing uh, the current text that has been entered into the edit text box, right? So that will be the key, and what will the value that will be assigned to it. So that uh, currently whatever text that has been passed to the alert dialog box inside that edit text box, okay, that is nothing but the key, right? Or that task list will be referred, or shared reference will be referred by that name, right? So unique name will be used here. So if user is trying to create the uh, list with same name, so obviously it will be added there, but automatically it will be erased, okay, because only unique names will be assigned. Just for example, if you are creating what you can say that if you are given name as list one, okay, where L is capital, okay, so LIST list one with L capital, and again you are giving same name, that is list one, again L capital. So first list one will be maintained, second list one will be deleted. Okay, because a unique name should be assigned to the key. But it is case sensitive, right? So therefore you can use small l. So you can have last1 with small l. Okay, inside it. Okay. So again, here using list data manager objects. Okay, that we have just created uh, at the top of this class file. Uh, this instance list data manager has been created of the list data manager class, inside which two functions are there, that is save list and read list. Okay, so that save list function has been called. Okay, so that save list function will be store the list inside the shared preferences, right? So and after that, uh, that recycler adapter instance has been created of adapter class that we had created, right, as list selection recycler view adapter. So we'll be adding that list inside the recycler adapter. So that currently created list will be passed to the recycler view, right? So we will be rearranging these, right? Currently that add list has not been defined. So again, when we want to display it into the recycler view, we need to make those changes. Okay, that list should be passed here. Initially, inside the recycler view, we were displaying the static list. Okay, so string array was passed to it, right? But currently, we want to display the current list that has been maintained by the shared preferences. Okay, this which user has just created, right? So for that purpose, some changes uh, should be there, right? So here you can see that we are calling the second function which has been defined inside the list data manager class. Okay, using its instance, that is list data manager, that is nothing but read list. So read list will return the list in terms of array list. Okay, array list object, right? So that is assigned to the this value, that is list, right? So whatever user will create, that should get now displayed inside the recycler view. So if you observe here, that is list recycler view, that is find view by ID. So it is identifying the recycler view by its ID, which is mentioned inside the resources. So the identifier for that recycler view is list underscore recycler view. It is same as this initial return statement. Okay, similarly, that second statement is again similar. That is RecyclerView.layout manager. We are using linear layout, so therefore linear layout manager has been called here. The constructor of linear layout manager has been called, and current context has been passed to it. Right. So after that, again we'll be using this RecyclerView.adapter equals to list selection RecyclerView adapter. Right. But to that list selection RecyclerView adapter, initially it was empty, but currently will pass the current list. Okay, that has been fetched from the list data manager. Okay, by using read list function. Okay, what that read list function is doing, so it is reading the contents of the shared preferences. Okay, so whatever the key value pairs are maintained inside the shared preferences, that will be returned here. Therefore, that list has been passed there. Right? So this is nothing but a selection recycler view adapter. Right? So here again, you can observe there that the list selection recycler view adapter, we have passed the list. Okay, so that it should get displayed here. But this list selection recycler view adapter class we have created, and we just try to observe the constructor of the list selection recycler view adapter class. So here you can see that list selection recycler view adapter class is there, and currently it is not having constructor parameterized constructor, which takes the array list as a parameter. So we need to make those changes. Initially your recycler view was displaying these list titles, okay, string array, which we have statically passed to the uh, recycler view, but now it should display the list. Okay, so therefore uh, we have just passed the or created the parameterized constructor for list selection recycler view adapter. To that constructor we are passing this array list. Okay, so that array list will be passed here, right? So after passing that our array list as a parameter to the constructor, some more changes we need to make inside the get atom count on by the ViewHolder functions, because initially what it was displaying or the list title array. Okay, but now I want to uh, use the list, okay, that has been just fetched by using read list function, okay, of list data manager. So therefore here, instead of list titles, the current list, okay, current list that has been fetched using list data manager's read list function will be used, and its name will be fetched, okay, and will be given to the folder dot list title, so that name should get displayed inside the recycler. Right? Similarly, the size of that list will be fetched here. Okay, so by using get atom count function, how many atoms are there inside that list. Okay, so therefore here we are using return list dot size. Okay, so as per the total number of list atoms are there, okay, total number of key value pairs are there inside the list, this list will be iterated, right? And those many atoms will be displayed inside the uh, recycler view, right? So after that I just use that add list function, okay, which was undefined. So we'll be using that add list function, right? So that add list function we were using in this main activity. Okay. So here that recycler adapter instance was calling that uh, add list function. To that add list function, again list has been passed. So that recycler adapter is the instance of list selection recycler view adapter, right? So inside that list selection recycler view adapter class, will be defining that add list function, right? So what that add list function is doing, so again to that add list function, list is passed, okay, as the instance of task list class, and it will add that list into the list, and it will notify that atom is currently inserted, okay, and it will reduce that size which has been written by the get atom count by 1, okay. That means that atom has been inserted into the recycler view, right? So that atom will be displayed inside the recycler view. So now you can run this application after making these changes, okay. So when you will run this application, you will find that again you can run it on your AVD or maybe your Android mobile phone. Okay, so I'm using again Nokia 6.1 Plus, okay, for running my application. So again, you can observe that uh, here you will get a recycler view without any contents, right, with one fab button. So you can create on that floating action button. So alert dialog box will be open with title, what is the name of your list. So you can insert the name of list there, inside the edit text input box, right? And click on create. So you can observe that whatever we have inserted in that text box, that name will be reflected inside the recycler view. So you can create those multiple list items there, or the key there, right? But the things that you have to observe here, that the items which we will be creating will have the unique name. If you are trying to create the another item with the same name, only the previously created item will be maintained. Okay, those names are case sensitive. With same name in different cases, that is lowercase or uppercase, you can maintain those, right? But one more thing that you can observe here, if you click on any one of those list items, so nothing is happening. So in next session, we'll be adding one more activity, how to create multiple activities, or how to move from one activity to another activity. So that currently what we are doing, we are simply maintaining keys inside the recycler view. But inside those keys, what are the values? Those values are not displayed. Okay, so the name of list has been displayed, but the uh, task inside that uh, named list has not been displayed yet. Okay, so those things will be covering in next sessions. Okay, so thank you for joining today's session. Okay, so in this session, what we had done, we had created list, we had added the uh, action listener to the Fab button, which will display one alert box, alert dialog. So inside that alert dialog, you can insert the name of list, and that name will be reflected inside the recycler view. So now you are creating the list dynamically. Okay. So